First of all, I would like to say I do not share many people's misconceptions about Catholicism as if it is not a Christian group. It is a Christian group. It is the dominant Christian group, and we cannot afford to be divided by Masonry, communists, humanists, atheists, Satanists, feminists, the LGBT community, and other people who oppose the morality in the Bible. My personal belief is Jesus is the Son of God. But one thing we can know, perhaps even more certainly than that, is the morality in the Bible, which is consistent in the Old and New Testament. That morality is proven throughout time, for the insightful observer and those who have done their due diligence and careful research. So whether it was King Henry in 1425, King Henry VI acting against Masons, or Elizabeth I about a century later, people have always suspected it was wrong. Pope Leo, Albert Mackey highlights something that I want you all to understand. Now pay very close attention. There are maggots and rats plotting against me. By maggots, I mean anti-Christian white people. By rats, I mean Jewish conspirators. These are not racist terms. These are terms that describe certain groups of people who hold certain political views. Okay, I would compare them to, calling people names in a time of war or something. There are white people who see it my way who aren't maggots. There are white Catholics. Some of the best presentations against Christianity, against fucking Masonry I've ever seen in my life were presented by Catholics. Very professional, and the Masons themselves come off as professional and intellectual, so these are very important presentations. So, also I'd like to point out that Annie Besant is a whore. There's some people that stick out as complete whores that are worshipped. Who is Besant? She was a prominent British socialist, theosophist, women's rights activist, writer and orator in support of Irish and Indian self-rule. So she was a bad person, plus she supported Indian and Irish self-rule, which is not a bad thing. Okay, and these have to do with the actions of Masonry. She was the female who opened, first it was allowing women, Human Duty. It was formed in London, first Masonic lodge allowing women. And then you had the Eastern Star before that. That was in 1902. In 1850, you had the Eastern Star that allowed both men and women. And then it was kind of like an offshoot of Masonry. Okay, so there's a lot of things I'm going to put in the comments I want you to read. I put in the comments already. I got a lot of this information from FBI Freemasonry documentary. The FBI does not stand for Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'll give you the link. The first hour is the most important as it goes through the history of speculative, operative, and other forms of Masonry. Talking about the Grand Lodges in England and how they spread through Europe before 1776, and Illuminism, which is very important. That has to do with the Enlightenment and Voltaire. Okay? Illuminism was established by Martinez de Pasquale and refined by Louis Claude de Saint Martin. Now this has to do with pantheism, a form of atheism implementing communism and aiming to destroy Catholicism. So when you see that the Illuminati and the Masons targeted Catholics, it becomes very foolish to say, well, we are going to destroy Catholicism. Very foolish. Let me take this off because I'm going to do a combo sim. Okay? The Catholics are perhaps our greatest ally, maybe not those in the church hierarchy, but Catholic scholars who see what's going on. Catholics are divided amongst the quote-unquote progressive liberal Catholics, the gays, the Masons who infiltrated Catholicism, the theosophists, the different socialist type, Catholics that infiltrated the church, and the actual Catholics who are true to Pope Leo and other anti-Masonic Catholic popes and prominent figures. So I would propound a deep attachment to those Catholics that stand with me, and to all Christians that stand with me, and to even all Muslims that stand with me, because we face a common enemy in these Satanists, these feminists, these LGBT, these secular humanists. And the humanist movement, really is a very horrible Illuminati movement, and they're going to try to downplay that. One thing they try to do is confuse you, saying that, well, Masons do not allow people who don't believe in God into their secret societies. Yes, but they still created the major atheistic movements. And who's this guy? I believe his name is Milner. Let me just find this Russian guy, Russian revolutionary. His name is Milner. All right, Mason Lord Milner financed the Russian Revolutionary, talking about the Bolsheviks, and so on. Okay, now the National Secular Society, you know, she was, Annie Besant was a prominent speaker with her close friend Charles Bradlaugh. Okay, so she was somebody who was married to a clergyman. I mean, when you truly examine this thing carefully, it becomes impossible not to understand that Masons pretty much started the women's rights movement. They pretty much started the major secular movements. They're breaking down the family, okay? And you see the people who are trying to argue with me the most, they're not really Christians. I haven't really come across Christians saying I'm wrong about my martial arts challenge. It is all the opposition view. It shows me that they're mostly harassing me, and they're jealous, you know. In fact, I just got a message saying, you are amazing and cute. They are jealous. I had to respond to that real quick. Didn't want to leave that person hanging too long. So yes, you know, when you examine this thing carefully, and I've gone over many documentaries in the last 7 years especially, but even before that, you can tell by Illuminati Part 1 that I'm, you know, getting some of my information from research and some from documentaries that I had recently seen at that point. I've watched a lot of documentaries, and I can honestly tell you the best documentaries about Masonry and the Illuminati have come from Catholics, not atheists, not from Protestants. And, you know, I'm not a Catholic. There's a lot of people in my tribe who are Catholic, a lot of people in my family who are Catholic. I was baptized a Catholic as a baby. The last time I went to church was a Carmelite monastery in the hills in East San Jose. But I'm not a Catholic. I'm a non-denominational Christian. I do not allow myself to be influenced by anything but the truth, and I am very skeptical about institutions, especially those who have sold out to Babylon's system. When you look at Masons and you dig through their different presentations and videos, you hear them talk about Filipino Freemasons and the Germans, a bunch of Germans in the Scottish Rite, and you hear them talk about the cult of Orpheus and Dionysus and comparative religion. Okay, these people absolutely have an agenda, and when you truly analyze it for what it is satanic, and atheistic Satanism is one of the movements that resulted as this. This is the pagans in the Roman Empire striking back, the secular guys, the atheist guys, the secular humanists, the theosophists, you know, British socialists. These are all these people striking back, okay? The dualists, you know, I talk about that in some of the videos I recently uploaded. So I'm absolutely appalled at how Masonry is trying to provide cover for atheism and, you know, trying to cover up the fact that they started these movements. That's a very dangerous misconception to have. To assume that communists who shut down some Masonic lodges in some parts of the world are automatically against Masonry is a very dangerous thing. There were some communists who were against it, but the major movements are controlled by Freemasons, you know. And the fact that Marquis de Sade spread abortion in Western societies, and he did it for socialist or social reasons, okay, this guy was where we get the term sadism, and he's absolutely connected to Illuminism, Illuminati, and Masonry. And who started, who wrote the book of the Constitution of Free and Accepted Masons? Okay, it was John Theophile Desaguliers and James Anderson, two Protestant ministers. So is the Illuminati a, you know, Catholic conspiracy? I think that's kind of laughable. Did they infiltrate the Catholic Church? Absolutely. They said they would a long time ago. They've been doing it ever since. You know, is it a Catholic conspiracy? You know, is every Catholic fucking somehow connected to the Illuminati helping them out? No. Catholics, in several points, banned their members. Pope Leo, I forgot which one it was. I think it's like the 8th or something. Pope Leo something banned all Catholics from joining Freemasonry. He said Freemasonry is anti-Catholic. Okay, these people expelled the Jesuits at one point. They regrouped, they came back, they infiltrated. And there's still Catholics who understand this, who are true to the principles of the church, the founding fathers of the church founders. Now, again, you know, I'm non-denominational. I just want everyone to understand that some of the major opposition to Masonry to this day, and some of probably the most factual presentations I've ever come across, the most articulate, concise, coherent, you know, concise with when all is considered. There's a whole lot of things to talk about. They do it in 2 hours, do a good job. I've seen 2 powerful Catholic documentaries. I've seen nonsense such as Zeitgeist, just stupidity about the Illuminati and about secret societies. I've seen dumb shit from dumbasses. Then I've seen powerful, you know, very effective documentaries that are very informative from Catholics. So to act like, well, you know, Catholics are, you know, they're all bootlickers or something, it's just not the case. You know, it's just not the case. And I'll leave it there so I can, you know, do my comments. Throw some blows here.